Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Deep Dive. Today we're going to take a close look at Woodpecker's newest tool, one I'm really excited about. This is the Rip Flip Fence Stop System. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll always know every time we put up a new edition of Deep Dive or any of our other fine videos. All right. So what's going on with the Rip Flip Fence Stop System? Well, you know, it's one of those things you kind of wonder where it's been. How did it take this long to get a flip stop on your rip fence? I don't know, but we've got it now. The Rip Flip is designed at this point in time. Let me stress that. At this point in time, this is designed specifically for the saw stop table saws. But that isn't going to be the case for long. We're working actively right now to get this set up so that we can use it on different brands of saws as well. Stay tuned, we'll let you know just as soon as those are available. So let's take a look and see what Rip Flip brings to the party. Let's say we're a cabinet shop and we're doing rail and style doors all the time, and we do our rail and style and face frame construction all at 2 1/8 of an inch. Right? So I'm going to bring this stop up, bring my fence over. I do not even have to look at the scale. I know that that's right on 2 1/8 because it always is. It stays right there all the time. So now I need another piece 2 1/8, but I don't want the next 2 1/8, okay? Let's say I've got a big knot there or something like that. I want to get out of that. I can change my position. We'll take the cut off the other side on this next one. Get that where I want it, just to take that edge off. Now, I'm going to flip that over, put that edge against the fence, come back to my stop. So without ever measuring or marking anything, I have 2 pieces of stock exactly the same width. Now, if that was this tool's only feature, it'd be great, but we didn't stop there. We set this up so that it not only will stop one direction, it'll stop 2. What does that do for you? How about perfect fitting Dados? So let's start by talking about a Dado that you absolutely cannot do with a Dado blade. This is 1/4 inch plywood, but we all know it isn't 1/4 inch. It's significantly under. And of course, it's not close enough to be anything else either. It's sort of in that in-between land. And with a typical Dado blade, your absolute minimum cut is your 2 outside blades, and that is 1/4 inch. So that's going to be way sloppy, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do this in 2 cuts with our standard 1/8 inch blade. To set Rip Flip up to do a Dado cut, we're going to take one of our stops and we're going to do just like the name says. We're going to flip it. Okay, now it's pointed toward the other one. You can see on this one we have our coupling unit. We're going to slide those together. Take an Allen key. Lock that in this one. Double check that one, make sure it's tight too. Put our ratchet knob straight down. Now we have a stop on both sides of our fence. First, we're going to set the depth of the saw blade for the depth of the groove that we want to make. And we want the top of our plywood to be 1 inch from the edge of our stock. So I'm going to put my cursor on 1 inch. Lock it. I'm going to flip the right side flip stop up and adjust it with that still at 1 inch. We're going to bring that up until it contacts the end of the bolt. Lock everything up. We're ready for our first cut. Now, to get this groove so that our plywood will go in, we need to bring the saw a little bit closer to the blade. So I'm going to bring the second stop up, bring that very close to but not touching the end of the bolt, and move it over. I'm going to eyeball that and see how close it is. That looks like it's going to be almost but not quite deep enough. Now we'll do a trial fit, and we're not quite there. We need a little bit more. So we're going to take our thumb wheel and move it to the right just a little bit, lock it so that if we've got it right, we know that we're right on for the next cut. Perfect drawer bottom fit. Now the setup was a little tedious. We had to do a couple of trial and errors there to get it dialed in just right. But now it's completely locked. And my next cut, all I have to do is come against the stop, and the next 1,000 will come out just like that too. So we're set up for a perfect fitting dado on 1/4 inch plywood, 1 inch from the edge. Doesn't have to be 1 inch though. Take a look at this. The coupled pins and the stops are all set. I'm going to unlock it, unlock the fence. Now we can move the whole assembly anywhere we want it. Lock it. And now that exact same perfect fitting dado is at a different position. Perfect. So the other standard dimension that we need for a dado would be something close to 3/4 of an inch to fit plywood. We all know that the 3/4 inch plywood isn't 3/4 of an inch. So what you get into a lot of times when you're doing this is you take apart your dado stack, you put it back together, you put in shims, you go back and forth trying to get that perfect fit on your 3/4 inch stock. We're going to do it differently with rip flip. We're going to do the same 2-step cut that we did for our 1/4 inch plywood. We're going to do that for 3/4. And what that means is we only need something that is just over half the width of our dado. In this case, 3/8 of an inch is more than enough, and 3/8 is so easy because it's your 2 outside blades and 1 1/8 inch chipper. Now, one of the things I really like about this setup is, on some of these saws, you don't have enough arbor length to put a full 3/4 inch stack on and get your outside washer on. At 3/8 of an inch, I still have plenty of room for this. perfect. Installation of the rip flip on your saw stop is really simple. All we have to do is put these little brackets everywhere the rail bolts to the angle iron. And you don't want to take them all off at once. Just do one at a time, loosen the bolts, slide the bracket in, tighten it back up, and you'll never alter the alignment of your fence rail. We launched Rip Flip a couple of weeks ago, and we've had some questions to our customer service line. I want to try and cover some of those with you. One of them was, what about a saw stop that has a sliding table attachment? Well, when you install the sliding table attachment, you have to move your fence rail, and really isn't going to affect your rip flip at all. Just wherever you have rip fence rail, you're going to have the rip flip track attached underneath. Another question that we were asked was, what about the job site saw stop? Unfortunately, rip flip does not work with that. The other question was, on the contractor's saw, there are two different fence options. Okay, it does not work with the standard fence. You do have to have the T-glide fence. Whether it is the contractor's saw, the professional saw, or the industrial saw, you have to be looking at the T-glide fence for the rip flip to work. Hey folks, thanks for joining us today on Deep Dive. Hope you enjoyed this talk about the rip flip system. Be sure and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. You'll always know when our new videos are coming out.